Okay, so you've probably already heard this before, but keep a notebook on you so you can like record the thoughts that are coming to you. And you can also write down your thoughts to go back and flip them. In my video, What's Still Having Trouble with Thoughts, I give you a technique that's from Ask and It Is Given that helps when you don't know what thought would be good to replace like a limiting belief. And all my videos, a lot of my videos recently have played into one another. They are connected. And the first thing to master really is presence. I think the title for that is Master This, right? So, I know in my video with Still Having Trouble with Thoughts, I think that's the title of it, I show you a picture of thoughts going out and why you're not receiving guidance, right? It's because you have too many thoughts going out and it's hard to get like one in there. But what you'll realize is it's been there all along. You just haven't noticed it, right? So whenever you remain present, moment by moment, you will receive thoughts, ideas, images, sounds. Your senses will come to life. It kind of depends on like what your psychic abilities are, but I mean you find out pretty quick. So keep a notebook on you. And I didn't want to carry around a large notebook, so mine's definitely small. And I write down everything that comes to me. I'll give you an example. And also signs, like if I've seen an image a lot, I'll write it down. So lately, I've been seeing apples, and then I got, because I asked, like, what is that about? And then I heard the apple of your eye. And I'm like, interesting. So I wrote it down. I seen 2 lizards, and not like from a Geico commercial. I actually seen lizards. The word embody, the word appointed, the word revelation, the word chosen. I heard the phrase, couldn't hold a candle to you. So I looked that up, right? Found that interesting. The phrase deep rooted, the butterfly effect, and cicadas literally flew like if one hit my window today. I talked about it in my last video, but keep a journal. It will strengthen your abilities, your psychic abilities, your intuition. You'll start listening to that still voice, that quiet voice, or just start noticing how things are coming to you, and you write them down, because I'll forget. That's why I write them down. But also you can go back, like say last week's signs and messages. Sometimes they will intertwine and you'll get more pieces to like a puzzle. So it's very interesting, and it'll be very interesting to you because your world is always talking to you. your world is always trying to communicate with you. So writing things down is definitely helpful, and then you'll start to see, hear more. You'll start to notice it more. The spaces between your thoughts will expand. And you would definitely find it interesting. It's definitely interesting, but then you can either try to figure it out for yourself, which is what I do, but as I mentioned a few videos ago, someone to look up is 13 Moon Tarot, because she does this with like signs, right? And I've received some of the same signs that she has, so it's interesting to see how she interprets them and how I've interpreted them. But it's like a game you can play with yourself. But you have to trust yourself. Trust the feeling that you know it's important. Because sometimes it'll seem like random. But nothing's ever random, right? But sometimes I'll look at something and I'll stare at it like a little bit longer, like my intuition is just like silently ringing the bells type thing. And sometimes you will hear a bell ring or an alarm, which is my assigned sign to pay attention. Because I do have a list of signs, right? Of what certain symbols and signs mean to me. Like a ladybug. If I see a ladybug, it's the sign for no one to change but self. Because your world is a reflection of you, right? So that was the first sign I ever like created for myself. And it was one of those like me testing my reality to see what would come of it, right? To see if this world really is a mirror. To see if I make internal changes, would it reflect back, right? I did this years ago. Asked for the sign of a ladybug to see if that's true, right? And then I saw so many ladybugs, so I was like, damn. And that it never happened before, right? I don't usually have a shit ton of ladybugs inside of my house. And that's why I say, like, everything I'm sharing with you is something that I have experienced. I don't just say the world is a mirror because it's something that I've heard. It's something that I've actually experienced. I had the question of, is this correct type of thing? I had that question years ago. A long time ago. Right? It was years ago. Whatever. I had that question. And then that question led me to, okay, well, how can I navigate this, right? So when you're creating your reality, when you're shifting things, you shift them internally first. And then it is reflected back to you. And don't be afraid to shift things externally as well. Don't be afraid to take risks and go outside of your normal routine, your normal parameters that you gave yourself, right? Be adventurous in life. And you can ask yourself, you can ask God, you can ask the universe, you can ask your manager that I brought up in the last video, your guides, your angels, whatever, whoever, whatever spirit you are called, or consciousness that you're called to ask, and then I usually forget about it, right? I'll like write it down, or I keep a mental note, but then I'll forget that I made the note, mentally or physically. Like I'll forget, you know, and then it'll pop up within a day or two, sometimes immediately, but sometimes it's like something so crazy that I the sign that I normally don't see, like the ladybugs. I normally don't see a shit ton of ladybugs, and I'm looking over there because it happened over there. I normally don't see a shit ton of ladybugs, right? And one of my signs were, well, I got into like certain color roses. So not only like a red rose, but like a pink rose and then a green rose. I don't usually see green roses, right? And then I would see one and I'm like, damn. And sometimes I'll forget, like, what did I assign? Like, I have to go find that note. So that's why it's good to keep track. It's helpful for me, and I know it's going to be helpful for you, but that's how you can play and interact with your reality more, like more than just the physical day-to-day stuff that you already do, but interacting, like, show me the answer that I'm looking for, show me, guide me, and ask like that. And the more you do it, and the more you're familiar with the feeling of being pulled, or your intuition pulling you, or like having that knowing feeling, the more you do it, the more you can recognize it easier. So I really do want you to implement this, because it is fun. It does change your perspective. It does open you up more. And it's something simple that you can do. Male or female, you can carry around a small ass notebook with you and observe your reality and ask questions. It doesn't have to be a lot of symbols, right? I would go with one at a time. I usually do. Unless I'm receiving them, like I have been lately. I haven't actually assigned a meaning to something. I think the last time I did that was with someone like months ago, because he was going through a hard time, and like his dad just died, and this and that and the third, and he was questioning if God exists, and I was like, okay, well, God exists, and you're gonna see a duck. You're gonna start seeing ducks, and that's your sign that God exists, right? Because God does exist, just not in a man or female form, not fully, but that's a whole nother conversation. Get you a notebook, or if you have sticky notes, or use what you have. If you don't have a small notebook, or go get one. I feel like they're a few dollars. I don't remember, but they shouldn't be that much. I know a large one is probably $1. A large like composition notebook. So these might be like 50 cents, right? Easy. And then you're playing more, you're opening up more, you're expanding more. You're having that wonderful feeling and the amazement that happens when you actually do this. So thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow. If you haven't check out those other videos. Jesus. If you haven't, check out my other videos because they are pretty good, and I know you will learn a lot. And I know I explain things differently from other people. I feel like you'll be able to understand it better. And no, I'm not tooting my own horn type of thing, but it is my intention that you understand it on a deeper level. And it is my intention to simplify it as much as possible so you can implement it immediately. And I give you simple techniques to help you grow, to help us all develop. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for holding space with me. You feel free to interact in the comment section, like, subscribe, all that other stuff. But thank you for being here.